I was literally just about to start, and here's Felicia. So, um, I decided I was going to do a quick video about Generation X, and not in great detail because it's a lot to cover, obviously, if I were to. But there's been a lot of posts going around on Facebook and shares here within the past couple days, and it's starting to trend on Twitter. Gen X, I think, is the hashtag that's trending. I'd have to look again. I'm not seeing it on my trends, but it may be a worldwide trend. I'm not sure. As you can probably hear and maybe see, I am in allergy hell. I have been since about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoons when it really started setting in. It's supposed to rain here any minute, so I'm hoping that knocks some of it down. Anyway, the Gen X stuff is talking about how Gen Xers are very adept and adapted to, I guess, isolation. And I don't say that in a negative connotation necessarily, but it is what it is. It talks about how Gen X, for the first time, was that generation that had a lot more parents that both of them worked. I remember even growing up now, as I look back, a lot of my friends, their mothers were stay-at-home mothers typically. And as the 80s kind of went on, and definitely as we got into the 90s, it was not uncommon to have both parents working, kind of like you do now, in most homes anyway. Which Felicia would have loved to have, people stay at home more, because she obviously loves when people are here, right? So when you've got those parents away, well, suddenly you've got something to do with your kids, and not a lot of daycares take care of kids that are older than around 10 or so. So from about the time I was 10 to, I'd say 16, when I was started, driving on my own, I was one of those latchkey kids, I guess that would be referred to. That's what it keeps referring to in the article. And again, I'm not saying that as a negative thing. I wrote some stuff down, so forgive me if I kind of refer to this, but it was a unique thing, but now looking back, but I didn't give it a second thought at the time. I kind of got ourselves ready for school. I mean, Mom was up and stuff, but we kind of got our own clothes and got up, and I'd go out and catch the bus, go to school, catch the bus home. If I didn't catch the bus for whatever reason, I would have to walk home, basically, which happened a couple times. And there were a couple times too I would just choose to walk home, and no one ever batted an eye to it. And the walks home were, maybe 2 miles, 3 miles at a time, depending on the school, obviously. Like Franklin Junior High was a little bit further, so it was a bit of a walk. But anyway, I'd get back to the house, and we had a little hideaway key in one of those rocks, so I'd go grab that key, open the door, put the key back, of course, and then lock the door behind me. And then, I was by myself for a few hours usually, because my sister was in daycare, because she was, a few years younger than me. And both my parents, they were usually working until, 5, 6, sometimes later, depending on whatever was going on. I'm not sure exactly when everybody would be home some days. And I don't mean that like oh my God, I don't know if they're ever coming home. But there were just some days be later than others, all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be dramatic by any measure. But during that time, you had to kind of entertain yourself. And Felicia's getting into things still, so she's making this video more entertaining than it needs to be. But you would have to kind of entertain yourself. So I started looking into cookbooks. I wouldn't even necessarily even cook anything. I would just kind of go through them because we had them, Radio was big. We didn't have, and I'm not going back in my day, but we didn't have streaming music, no Pandora, Spotify, all those things. You weren't texting people, hell, you couldn't even call certain places without it being long distance and costing you an arm and a leg. I am starting to sound old now, ain't I? Jeez. What's long distance? Yeah, I know. It's for us old people, and we had to call more than like 30 miles, basically. But yeah, you didn't have all these things, the internet, Hulu, all that stuff to really entertain yourself. So radio was really your only streaming option if you wanted anything. Yeah, we had Nintendo and Genesis and stuff, but even that, once you played those through a billion times, then what are you going to do? So you start adapting a bit. I'm certainly, and still do, talk to myself quite a bit. I think that characters that we're seeing now, whether it's Skittles or OG Bobby Ross or whomever, kind of comes out, I think those were kind of some of those maybe imaginary friends I would talk to in those times. God, that sounds depressing, doesn't it? But those are just kind of things, the way that I adapted things. you know, I wasn't really allowed to go out until parents were home. Or if I did, it had to be like my neighbors directly next door kind of a thing. It wasn't, you know, I couldn't just go roam freely. Where would I have gone anyway, you know? Um, so with that isolation time and over time, you kind of adapt and you start hopefully learning some things here and there. But you realize too that you don't necessarily need to be around a ton of people all the time. You can entertain yourself to an extent. And I think a lot of people just never really had to as we're looking around. You know, when you're on day 3 or 4 or 7, whatever day it is now from isolation for many, and we're already at this, oh my God, I don't, like, look at my videos. Like, this is the stuff I would do during isolation, except now there's a camera on me, you know? I remember vividly listening to the radio, like I mentioned earlier, 92Q and Y107, depending on the day and what my mood was. But especially on like Friday afternoons, a 5 o'clock whistle on Y107, believe me, the stereo was cranked as loud as I could get it. I'm jumping off furniture. I'm being loud, just singing along. I was learning songs. I was dissecting music even then. You're like, oh, what is that from? I've heard that before. I know it from something, you know, hearing samples, just hearing different little notes that maybe I hadn't heard before. It just became almost an obsession. Music did, and obviously it still is today to an extent. The downside is, for me, that I've noticed, I'm not great at chit chat. Really, really not. I know y'all see me sit up here and talk and ramble, but guess what? There's no one around. I can do, you know, if something comes up casually or just hanging out or whatever, or at work, I can talk for a few minutes. But just like, hey, how's the weather? Kind of, I'm not good at that. Or if I know some of you have messaged me on various platforms or texted me, and I tend to be kind of short and to the point. That's just how I am. And that's how I've been for years. Even aside from that growing up, once I joined the military, the first few years of my Air Force career, you know, from 18 to even before I could drink, I was basically on 12-hour night shifts overnight in a room by myself. So I would go sit in a room by myself all night long and then go home, basically. And I would just do that over and over and over. And I did that for like 2 or 3 years. Again, I'm not saying that to be depressing. It probably is. That's probably part of my issues. But you kind of learn to do things on your own, and you become your own best friend. And God, that does sound depressing, doesn't it? I'm just talking this all out. But during that time, what I decided to do as well is learn things. I didn't want to just sit there and be depressed all the time, because you can fall into that trap very, very easily. When I got laid off a few years ago, I did fall into that trap. I had 3 months where I was basically by myself because everybody else was doing their own thing. You know, I couldn't even go hang out with people because guess what? They're working. So I fell in that depression trap. But looking back at those years when I was a younger airman, I don't remember really this. I mean, I'm sure there were some bouts of depression. Don't get me wrong, everybody has them, but I don't think it was a deep depression. I was finding ways to entertain myself. I was playing with music a little bit more and more. Good, bad, or indifferent. You know, I'm not some master artist. You know, I just like to have fun with it. But I was doing that kind of stuff. I was teaching myself Paint Shop Pro. I was teaching myself Photoshop. I was teaching myself HTML. I was teaching myself certain things in DBase. Just trying to learn things, just like I do now, just like I did then, going through cookbooks and finding recipes on Facebook. There are ways to entertain yourself. And maybe if you do it kind of in your own way, other people might dig it too, like I'm doing now. I'm not saying everybody loves these videos, but I know me sitting here talking and rambling, some people can kind of relate to that and go, oh my God. And for me, it's kind of a therapy too. This is something I do during isolation, whether it's self-imposed or the government does it, whether it's state, federal, or whomever. I isolate myself just because it's become a comfort, I guess, over the years. So use this time to kind of get to know yourself again. You forgot a lot about yourself. Use some time to reconnect with people that you miss and you love. That's a great thing to do. I mean, don't text your ex. Come on, don't do that. That's just silly. I mean, those good relationships where you just had a little gap, you know, that kind of stuff. But you can find something to entertain yourself with. Try not to get too down in the dumps and start stressing and worrying, because as you do that, a lot of people will sit on this time and start really thinking. And again, that's what I did last time I got laid off. Like I said, it was like 3 months where I was just sitting there, like, just staring off into the distance on the couch, talking to the cats at best, you know. And I think if you go back and look at my social media history, even whether it's YouTube, Facebook videos, whatever, like there was a very steep decline during that time frame. So you can kind of tell when I'm depressed and when I'm not, just based off of that alone. And there wasn't a whole lot of traffic going out there during that time, because I sat there by myself worrying and in my thoughts. So idle hands are the devil's playground, as they say. So are idle minds. So try not to let that happen. Keep yourself busy. Get out there, walk around. Stay away from people though, for right now, for goodness sake. But yeah, try to find something. Maybe you find a new interest. Now's the time. Now's the time. Pick up that renewed one. I'm gonna go play with this cat that keeps staring at me. Where's your ball at? Huh? Come on up here. I know you want to come up here. You want to tell everybody bye? Come on. There you go. So for right now, me and Felicia are going to call it a quit, or call it quits, right? Not call it a quit. And we're going to go. Oh, she's giving me kisses. Look at that. We're going to go play some ball, I think. So I hope y'all have a great day. Enjoy this Tuesday, and hopefully these allergies go the hell on. Until next time, it's your boy Panda and your girl Felicia, and we'll see you later. She's going to kill me, isn't she? Oh no, she's becoming a parrot. Oh, don't look there. I'm sorry. Hey everybody, thanks for watching that last video. I know I rambled a little bit, but if you have any questions you want to ask me, maybe it's 90s related, Gen X, rap, Ghostbusters, I don't know, any of that kind of stuff. I've definitely got some time to kill. I definitely enjoy doing videos. So if you have any valid questions that you want to ask me, not just the same old stuff that gets, done all the time, or how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, don't ask that kind of stuff. But if you have real questions, please leave them in the comments below. Leave them on Facebook, and I'll try to answer quite a few of them on the next YouTube video that I do, or maybe down the road in a YouTube video. I don't know what order I'm going to launch YouTube videos in just yet. And I'm rambling again. So until next time, as always, I greatly appreciate you watching. Please make sure that you like and subscribe. Maybe a share too. Until next time, it's your boy Panda.